My last name is Lee.
Talanoa.
Ever might,
Ever mai, and tune in to our podcast, LALINOA Podcast.
Welcome everybody to Radio Nuku'alofa and our LALINOA for today. And also, I have a special guest today, Brent Kite. And Brent, just to let you know that you're my first guest in our new setup, in our new studio. This is a studio that's under a new initiative studio. So welcome and thank you. You're my first guest in our new studio. And also thank you to New Initiative Studio for recording this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here and honor to be the first, bro.
Yeah. So before we start, I have an intro here. Brent is a former professional rugby league footballer who has played in the 1990, 2000, and 2010. A Tonga and Australian international, a New South Wales state of origin. That's my team. I'm glad. Representative, front row forward. He played club footy for the St. George Dragons, Manly Sea Eagles, Panthers. Was named the Clive Churchill Medalist for his performance in the 2008 NRL Grand Final, in which he helped steer Manly to a 40-0 thumping of the Melbourne Storm, scoring a try. Brent, this is just an intro that I Googled, and it says this, but I really want to know who you are. So let's close the laptop and start from the beginning. Who is Brent?
Wow, that's a deep question, Lala. You know, I suppose in my heritage, as I said, mum's Tongan and born in Tonga. Met my dad, who's the Australian, in Canberra. Came up with, you know, being the second youngest of 6 kids, big sporting family. My dad, you know, had a hard upbringing himself, and I think he'd always pictured his kids playing sport or doing well academically. So when I speak of my dad, yeah, I think is, you know, just instilled in us to do the very best we can, and he gave us, you know, all the opportunities he didn't have. And mum likewise, I think, coming from Tonga, she was just always positive, always faithful. Nothing was too hard. Just grew up with, you know, just thinking of, you know, how much they did for us and how much they loved us. I suppose in the sense of what I'm saying, for me, is a big part of who I am is around my family and my heritage, and you know, from both sides, it's we were orientated that way. So, yeah.
You mentioned your parents, especially your father. There's a lot of relationships between father and son, especially when it comes to sports. Was it that, or did you always wanted to play footy? Was it a push from your father or and your mom or your parents to pursue footy as a career, or have you always had a dream and aspirations to play professionally?
Yeah, I always loved it, but you know, growing up in a big family, even before there is, you know, organised sport, you're wrestling with your brothers, you're playing in the backyard. We lived on the back of an oval, the whole community was down there, so it was always a big part of our life. Dad was just very mindful to give us the opportunity. Some things, you know, are harder to do. When you got 6 kids, for instance, you know, our boxing would take us a 3-hour drive away, but he'd save up, and you know, you get a bit emotional when you talk about this stuff. But he'd make sure he'd save up, get us up to Sydney, where we'd have the opportunity to box. If we wanted to do Little A's, it was Little A's. You know, me and my younger sister were just talking about the Williams dad, the King Richard movie, and he wasn't very forceful at all, but he was pretty smart. So I think, you know, when he saw the fit Tongan lady, he probably thought she can give me a big strong voice to play rugby league, eh?
You just mentioned, and sorry to continue on, because I know you're getting a little emotional talking about the journey you've been through, especially with your father sacrificing time to take you guys or to these opportunities that you say. Those sacrifices that you guys see or you guys appreciate now, looking back at it, those drives, those times you spend with your parents, taking you to all these places to have these opportunities to be able to pursue your dreams. How you feel about that? How just looking back and reminiscing on those times?
Some of the best times, some of the best times of our life. I think when we're all young, because you don't realise, I suppose, you grow soon enough and move out doing your own things. But some of the best times of my life was definitely the home unit. Always had someone to play with or joke with, and in my case, get teased by. But very mindful of the sacrifices mum and dad made. When I say all sports, I still love golf to this day, and that wasn't a sport that you could easily do if you didn't have much money. Dad would make sure we still got down to Taumalolo, and I've loved it. I always think of him when I play. He's not with us anymore. He passed away in 2008. But mum the same. I just remember her being a tireless worker, and in my I suppose endeavour to make first grade, I always had mum in the back of my mind, because I haven't seen a strong woman, like her, that just would, when things would be tough. I'm thinking at St George, I was a long way from home, and I'd often think of mum because just nothing seemed too hard for her, and although dad got us along to sport and was a big part of that, mum always told us about, just the importance of family, and she was just someone I leaned on when I was trying to make it.
There had to be a moment where I know you talk about making it to first grade, but there had to be a moment where you realized that this is going to be the path that I'm going to take. Footy is the path I'm going to take.
Yeah, there's a few moments that came together. I think always not in an arrogant way, I just always thought I would play footy. I just loved it so much. I was pretty good at it. And back then, when I was a kid, I played in the backs, so it's even better if you're playing the backs, right? This game, I remember I'd score, scoring tries.
And you stand out to the crowd when you play in the backs. Yeah.
I think so. Little did I know, my journey as I got slower was going to move me closer into the forwards. But when you're asking about those times, I think, I went away to the 2000 World Cup with Tonga, and I had a contract with the Canberra Raiders. But essentially, the year I got back, the next year, 2001, I was getting a pay cut. Essentially, they didn't really want me. And around this same time, my manager started talking to other clubs, and he got me just a base level contract with St George, an opportunity, really. At that stage, I was sort of had potential, but it was unfulfilled. And the next moment I can't go past is really when my older sister went, she went back to church and she turned her life around. I was sort of a kid getting in a little bit of trouble in the Raiders' defence. So I'd signed to go to St George in November, and I think in October, my sister said, look, come to church. And I did. And it was, I think, it was a goal to play football, but the goal to sort of, live a better life. My sister had sort of come from a rough sort of few years, and to see a church that, she was transformed pretty much, and that had a big impact on me where I was in my life to go, okay, I'm going to be serious now about not just footy, but about life, getting around good people. I really never looked back from that point. So somewhere around, having signed to go to St George and then deciding, no, I'm going back to church as well. Then I knew. Then things started to really fall into place.
You mentioned in your answer living a better life. There's on one hand the footy side, the accolades and the fame, the money. On the other side, it's your faith. What balance that you can see in your life that people can hear or watch, that the true meaning of living a good life?
Oh, yeah, I think, I think it comes down to the individual, but growing up in church, you've always had a pretty good reference, you know, and Tongans in general, we all go to church at some stage or another, but only I think you can really be the judge of, you know, whether you are or not. And I think I just knew I was just not, you know, I wasn't probably the worst guy, but I definitely, wasn't really happy either in the end. You know, I was sort of chasing the footy with the incentive of, you know, then as a young kid, if you can just go in that mind frame to get the money, then you get the woman, a bit more of the fast life where, you know, once I settled down, you know, I was blessed to have a young family, and being present for my kids at that age is something I'll never regret.
You spoke about your parents being present in your life. How important is that to your kids' life? You're being present for them.
Yeah, I think very important. You know, me and my brothers and sisters, we're all pretty strong personalities, but I think the presence of mum and dad and you know, they weren't always smooth sailing as you can have pressures in marriage, especially when, you know, money's short and time's short. But yeah, that they were around to have the love and nurture of mum and dad. Yeah, very important.
This is a question I've asked to many rugby superstars, Tongan heritage, that have played for Australia or New Zealand and also have played for Tonga. And I'm giving you the same question. Is there any difference of playing for Australia and coming home to your mother's heritage and representing Tonga here? Is there any difference playing with the two countries?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sometimes you get this question phrased in more of a way like, you know, especially Aussies, what are you? You know, you can't be both, you know, like Australian.
You're born and raised here.
That's right. The answer on that side of things is, for me, is like, you know, do you love your mum more than your dad?
Yeah,
like,
that's so true.
So proud to be able to play in both jumpers.
Yeah.
I think definitely in my playing days, it was much harder to make the Australian team, and if you thought all eligibilities, if you could choose, was going towards Australia. So that, you know, I think there was a certain pride and you know, reaching some kind of a pinnacle in that feeling. But to play and be lucky enough to captain Tonga as I got older was I don't know, more of a homecoming. Oddly enough, I didn't get to come back to Tonga very much growing up, but to come and find out about, you know, where your mum's from, what this whole part of our culture is really about, is something to this day is one of my fondest memories in football. You know, the 2013 World Cup, Charlie Tonga was the coach, and he had a big emphasis on the boys, especially the ones not homegrown, coming back and getting to know a bit, not just the culture, but the history. So, yeah, really enjoyed that.
Before we get into you playing for Tonga, I'd like to get you to say where your mom's from here and what village you rep in Tonga.
Fasi Moiafi, but she tells me she was born in Sia, just across from the palace.
Yeah, I know where Sia is, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then my full name is Brent Kite, named after my mum's brother. Lavulo on mum's side, and on mum's dad's side, and Ata on her mum's side.
You just mentioned where you're from, your family, and all that. And you've also mentioned the feeling of playing for Tonga. Wearing the jersey for the first time, singing the national anthem for Tonga, doing the sipitao. Just talking about those moments for you, first time doing it, and also, you know, proudly representing your Tongan heritage.
Yeah, it was, again, you know, 24 years ago now when I first represented Tonga. And that was a real coming of age for me too, to understand more of the culture, you know, learning the national anthem and the sipitao. They've remixed it since then. I think this one's better. Yeah. I don't think it was as intimidating back then, and not really growing up doing any dancing. I sort of found my way towards the back in 2000, but
hiding from the camera.
Yeah, that's right. But same thing. A tremendous amount of pride, even though. It was over in England, pulling on that red jumper meant a lot.
You mentioned Charlie Tonga. I did, through research, know that he uses faith a lot in the way he coach, and you mentioned that you've turned back to the church or finding your faith. How important was having someone like that as the coach of the Tonga team at the time, or where were you in your stage of life when you first met Charlie Tonga?
Yeah, it was probably just coming up to 2013. But I think, as I mentioned before, Charlie's a man of faith. Yeah. You know, he famously said in 2013 that he has had this vision that we're going to win the World Cup. Yeah. You know, and obviously that didn't happen then, but. I've got a big heart for Charlie. He obviously appointed me as captain, and even though it didn't come to fruition back then, he said he knows he's going to see it soon, and I'm very proud of the way the boys have played since then, and how more of the boys with Tongan heritage have come back to play for Tonga. But yeah, faith, prayer. And the culture, I think it's hard to separate. So, as I said, when we came back here, because of budget constraints, we stayed at FIFA. Yeah. No warm shower. I remember sort of showering in the rain.
I think they still have the same story now, budget and restraint.
Yeah. So no, he's I don't know anyone that's done more for Tongan Rugby League. Than Charlie, and I'm very grateful to know him as not just a coach but as a friend.
The name Jason Taumalolo will go down in history as the person that kind of changed the culture of representing or choosing to represent your place of heritage than the place that you were born and raised like you did. When he did it in 2017 to choose to play for the Mate Tonga, and it kind of had a ripple effect on Andrew Fifita and so many other Tongan superstars to say yes to Mate Tonga. It's still happening to this day. And then we saw a rise on the way they played. They're making it first ever Tongan team to make it to the semi-finals. If you ask any Tongan here, we won that game if only the ref went to the TMO. But we're gonna take that to the grave, believing that we won the game if the ref went to the TMO. And moving on to beating Great Britain and the Kangaroos.
The one you mentioned before, though, like Jason Taumalolo and his standing in the game and what he's done for Tongan Rugby League, I absolutely agree. It was the catalyst, or that was the time that people started to say, yes, let's come back and play for Tonga. He was my roommate in 2013.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was just a rookie. But as you mentioned, it's the what I was unable to do, and guys that before me was to, at the peak of their career, say, no, I'm going to go and represent Tonga, and as you said, for FIDA, those boys, they have a legacy now, and their legacy is that they're a tier one nation. Yeah. In 2000 when we went to the World Cup, even with all the faith in the world, there was no dream of winning it. 2013, Charlie Tonga is starting to say, yeah, one day we can win this. Fast forward to 2017 and 2019. I'm so proud of what the boys have done, and in particular Jason, not just for Tonga in the game. A middle forward, you don't win the Dally M. That's a feather in his cap. He's a beautiful boy, man now. He's a grown man. But very proud of the boys where they've gone, what they've done, and hopefully where they're going.
Talking about Jason Taumalolo and you can potentially say Andrew Fifita, and then you see the other Pacific Island nations. You see big players also putting up their hands to play for the country of heritage.
Yeah, for sure. I remember in 2013, both Andrew and Michael Jennings came to one of our games, came in the sheds, and you could, even though they're playing for the tier one, you could tell they wanted wanted to be around it, and such is the experience of playing for MMT. That when they did, I think maybe some complacency because the Tongans, we were probably the first to send the dual eligible guys and strengthen the team. But now that Samoa is doing it and Fiji, I think it makes for a better international game.
Yeah.
But definitely, another guy that led the way there.
I've spoken to a few of the current players in Mate Tonga, the likes of Jason and Eben Whanua Blake, and they all mentioned that even Andrew Fifita, they all mentioned that the culture within the training camp in the Tongan team is so much different than any culture they've been to. I want to give you the same question. You've played for NRL, you've played for Australia, State of Origin, which we're going to be touching on because you play for my favorite team. Can you just talk about how true is that, or on what they say that the culture of playing for Tonga and with your fellow Tongan players and compared to these big training camps?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think the smaller nations, or if you look the underdog, or even Queensland, when there's less to choose from, you sort of come together. You're like a brotherhood, which I think happens for Tonga and Samoa. That the guys want to go back there. They feel like family. For me, what I love in the Tongan camps is we all have our banter in any team, but I love probably how innocent it is, and some of the way when just hearing things translated from Tongan that might otherwise feel like pretty simple or dumb, but we have a good laugh over most things. I love that sort of innocence of the humour in the Tongan culture.
Before we move away from footy, Brent, I cannot have you here and not talk about the State of Origin. How different is it? They say it's the biggest stage in rugby league. Just running on the field for the State of Origin. How does that feel?
Yeah, I describe Origin as a little like the Melbourne Cup back in Australia. You don't really have to watch league to watch the Origin.
Yeah.
And it's a bigger event.
Yeah.
It's a
I don't
bigger
really watch the league, but I watch the Origin.
And then for the reasons of being your place of origin, you got your name on your back, evokes all sorts of pride in what you've done, the people that have got you there. And I think it's similar with could describe some of that feeling with coming back to play for Tonga. Is it's a chance more than footy to represent your family. Thank them in a way and represent them to the best you can. That's always going to be a great motivator in sport when you're going out there, trying to do your family proud. So it's it is similar in a way.
Brent, I did hear your answer about you losing your father in 2008. It also on the intro that you've also made the grand final in 2008. Can you just speak about that? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm taking you back to a time where it might be hard for you to speak on, and just time frame of being in the grand final, and also a year that probably was in a personally a sad year for you.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I do a little bit of speaking over the years. I love to talk about my dad, because he had such an impact on my life and obviously on my sporting career. So no, it's a nice nice way to remember. But yeah, 2008, I probably tell another little story that he was 60 that year. So we had planned. My younger sister's a travel agent. She's like, what are we going to do for his 60th? This is in April.
Yeah.
And we say, we'll send him back to England. He's always wanted to go there. We're like, great, you know. She's like, yeah, that's $11,000. So, you know, we don't have the money then. They said, it's okay, we'll send him at Christmas, you know, and in the meantime, everyone can get their share together. And then he's so happy when we give him the present in April, he says, I'm going now, I'm going. And we're like, haven't got the present. Scrounge it together, send him to England, something he never thought he'd do, see his own, where he's from.
Yeah.
Then he comes back to see me play in the grand final. He'd seen me play in the grand final, but to see me win a grand final in September or October. And they're the sorts of images for me that evoke a lot of pride, not just dad, but your family. You know, and the stories that come out of it that, you know, like my eldest middle brother, Tory, you know, I heard he just dropped to his knees, you know, he's overcome.
Yeah.
And you think about, you know, all those people that helped you along the way. Dad, definitely. I heard Dad sort of, he gave a little bit of a spray to Canberra, but like there's no one from Canberra there, but just he remembers that, you know, that Canberra let me go. Yeah. And that's where I played all my junior footy, and little things like that are funny. But yeah, I played in a test. My older brother, who's now passed away, and Dad were at the test match in Moore Park in Sydney, and then I think it was a couple of weeks later Dad passed away. But very proud to be able to, you know, sort of my career culminated in a man of the match. We'd won the grand final, played for Australia, so would rather him here, but I feel he would have been. Yeah, he would have been proud. Yeah,
we've covered footy. We've covered you know, finding faith and finding a happy place in your life. What's the present day look like for Brent?
Good question. You know, just been in here, been in Tonga the last couple of weeks, and I think I could get used to it over here, you know, but I've been, you know, retired since football on the Gold Coast. My kids have been there 7 years, and my kids have come of age there, so very much just, you know, being there for the kids and their you know, ambitions in life at this stage. You know, I would have liked to go straight into coaching after football, but it didn't quite happen. But always I've stayed around the game, coach on lower levels, and just looking for the right opportunity to get back into that, and I think I'd like to do that long term.
This question might be premature. However long the coaching staff will be staying for Mate Tonga, would there be something that you'll be putting your hand up if it ever comes to that, where the new board puts out an advertisement one day, if ever Christian Wolf decides to I'm not sure they hang the boots or hang the whistle, and they'll be looking for a new coach or assistant coach for the Mate Tonga.
Yeah, I'm here to help Tonga, you know, in any way, shape or form. As I said, lastly, as a player in 2013, but more than happy to do anything I can, you know, under any coaching regime, or just good to be able to, be around the game and help on that level. I think I'd love to.
Brent, thank you for being here. I enjoyed talking to you. Every person I speak to, in all walks of life, either footy and education or business, music, I always ask them at the end of the conversation if there's a young person out there that's watching this or listening to this on radio and inspiring, not just to play footy, but inspired has a dream like you did at a young age and to pursue it and one day live it. If you have any advice to these young people, I'll give this time to you.
Sure. I'll probably just to step back on you know, with when I'm talking about helping Tonga, like if it's the MMT, then that would be great. But I just thought it'd be a good time to mention a good friend, Sione Finefeuiaki.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing some good things in Tonga, and probably just a good little story. And even for the youth, going into that section of the question, was we came here 5 or 6 years ago to do a bit of a clinic.
Yeah.
His foundation or charity was going to be around sporting things, but he really just had the heart to help, you know, not just the sport, but Tonga. And I'm really proud of him for what he's gone on to achieve, you know, the Australian AIDS, using his services, beautiful people from Newcastle that volunteer and come out to help our little country. That's a real, you know, cut through from sport to community things. And as it's turned out, he's not doing much sport at all, but he's, you know, upgraded the water in the Elwa hospital and does renovations of school. So I think
I just saw yesterday some Tongan guys with the vest and he's got Sione, and they're putting up a fence opposite the villa just down there in Bautaha. So yeah, he's doing a lot of good work.
Yeah. And I think probably that piece of advice that sure, you know, you're going to go after what you're going to go after, and there's an element of, you know, belief and faith that goes into that, but also you know, in that example, he's just gone where you know, the need has been to, and I think that's why he's done very well. You know, the kids are some like age-old advice, like listen to your parents.
Yeah.
Simple things, honour your parents, respect your parents. They usually know, you know, what's good for you. But yeah, going back to when things started changing for me, just that, the faith and belief that you can do it's got to be the start of any journey or any accomplishment, I think.
Thank you very much. Enlightening, and I enjoyed my conversation. Had a little cry as well, so not often I do that on my interview, so it was really, really, really enjoyable. Thank you. And I cannot wait to see what you do in Tonga, whether it's in the footy space or in space of just helping our country and our youth, and I cannot wait. And I'll be willing to talk to you anytime you have any updates on stuff that's been done here in Tonga.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Thank you very much.
Okay.